Most of my best ideas used to stop at 8 or 16 bars, until I figured out how to actually turn them into finished tracks. I'm working on an album right now, and today I wanted to show you how I take a demo and build it into a finished and release-ready track. We'll look at melody, rhythm, structure, layering synths, and how to make a track feel done without overcomplicating it. This one started as a really rough idea that was then expanded in a session with Aaron Wood, who's an incredible trumpet player and composer who I've collaborated with now for a few years. Let me quickly show you the initial idea and then we'll get straight into it. Here's the core idea, just these simple chords. So we start with an F minor 7 to a C7 sus, where I'm basically playing a B flat major triad in the right hand and then the C in the bass. And then we stay on that again. And then I go to a G7 sus. And then we basically repeat that exact same pattern, and instead of the G7 sus, we land on a D minor 7. So F minor 7, C7 sus, C7 sus, and now D minor 7. And I'm kind of playing this bass pattern which outlines the rhythmic intention of the chord progression, at least for now. So yeah, kind of simple, but enough to build a whole track around, I think. So yeah. Cool, so let's jump over to the Ableton project. You know how I was talking about rhythmic intention, like how the bass line was hitting? Ga, ga, da, ga, ga, ga. Well, I've kind of chopped up a drum break to fit. Yeah, so we're basically hitting the downbeats and the ands of 2. So 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2. Nice, simple again. Honestly, these days for bass, I'm reaching for analog, which is one of Ableton's built-in VSTs. I think it's a pretty underrated free VST for any Ableton user out there. It's pretty simple to learn. I like just a touch of resonance and then a touch of vibrato. Nothing crazy. Whoa. No, don't want that. Just something subtle. Almost like inaudible. And then nice shapes to it as well. Sine. A bit more subby. If you're listening on laptop or phone, you might not hear it. But I'll stitch this sawtooth and then just have the filter nice and low. Listen for those kicks. Go, ba, go, go, ba, ba, boom. Nice. I think people sleep on Ableton's analog. Maybe it's one of those stock synths that people skip over maybe because it looks basic. I feel like just straight out of the gate, analog gives you like a really tight and punchy sort of sound, at least for me, bass tone, that sits nicely in the mix. With the trumpets. Originally, I had a pretty fragmented melody and I brought it to the session and Aaron helped to refine it, and it voice leads really nicely now, which is cool. You can ask yourself openly, what's the actual essence here? That doesn't just go for melodies, but in this case, like, why is it that this melody sticks? So here we've basically got the choice of notes and then the rhythmic intention. We're basically outlining the changes, the chords, so F minor 7. And then we land on this D, which, remember, for C7 sus is like the 9. And then we have this pickup. Yeah, and that's it really. So it kind of goes up, nice shape, and then down. so it's got a nice shape to it as well. Some of that stuff like landing on the 9th, we're not really thinking about, we kind of just hear it. If you're new to this, it's a really good practice to kind of like look at melodies, either ones you're writing or other melodies that you enjoy, and like figure out why it works, maybe theoretically a little bit. I don't know, I feel like that's a cool practice. So there are infinite ways to expand an idea, but here the B section needed some rhythmic hits to contrast the flowing A section. So here now, instead of hitting the ands like we have been doing so far, we're going to be hitting the E's and ands. So 1 E and a 2 E and a daka duka. Yeah, so like for example, we start on the 1 E and a. So we start here, daka duka, and then we go daka duka ga. So, and then we kind of keep those E's and ands going. Daka duka duka duka. And then we're back into the main section, so yeah. For this song, I feel that the B section needed some rhythmic hits to contrast the sort of flowing A section. The trumpet takes over the flowing, almost soundscape kind of sound. So for B sections, or creating more expansive sections, I feel like it's all about trusting your inner ear. One thing I think this track needed was some pads and strings to glue everything together. There are a handful of different synth layers here. For this particular track, we used a Juno and J3 XP, which is a super underrated synth in my opinion. Anyway, let me show you some of the layers. Might not even be able to hear this one. Some synth strings. Super quiet. Lovely. Oof. Kind of like brass sound, I guess. And then second time around this comes in. That's definitely Aaron. So nice. Adds to the sort of colour and spirit of this track, I guess. And the demo title is Smile Today, which makes sense. Another synth string layer. And then later on we have this. I've actually got a feeling that that was on the Prophet. I've just labelled it J3XP. It's actually JX3P, I'm so dyslexic. Like, actually I am. Yeah, so we're basically using synth layers to create glue and texture. Sometimes maybe you don't really notice them, because the drums and synths are so loud. Let's turn the piano back on as well, and trumpet. Yeah, it's almost, your attention definitely doesn't go to the synths. But then if I mute them, check this out. Oh, feels naked almost. We also do have some synths on the Prophet. Oh, my favourite one. Woo! Is that Rhodes? Yeah, it is. I'm just using the Rhodes Mark 8 VST with a tremolator. Nice and subtle here, even more so than the previous section. Cool, let me show you the Prophet now. Woo, that's my favourite. That is too good. From the top there. Again, if I just mute those synths, it feels completely bare suddenly, but with them on, apart from the it's not really detracting from what's going on, if that makes sense. We've still got those hits, and the trumpet flow in line, and those piano hits that accompany the drums. That's like the main bit still. Cool. And then we go back into Wave On. So I think having really subtle elements like synths, but it could probably be other things as well, like percussion layers, is really important to kind of like making your tracks breathe. I don't know, at least for my productions and the songs I'm writing. If you haven't tried that, give it a go and see the impact. One tip I would have is kind of just like brain dump as many ideas as you can, like different synth patches, twist the knobs, kind of like don't worry about it too much. Just capture, and use that as a bit of a palette to later stitch together. Yeah, I find that to be like the most fun workflow at least. Every track can benefit from moments of personal expression. After all, it's what makes you unique. For me, that can come in lots of different ways, kind of like expressing myself on the piano gesturally, maybe in terms of like quick rhythmic lines. I don't know, just I love the piano. For me, that's a real part of my voice. Same with synths and other keyboards. I would love to invite you to think about how you can add your own personal voice, what that looks like. It can probably be so many different things. And for me, I'm always thinking, how can I add conversation and character to a song or a beat or a track, whatever you want to call it. Not sure how to wrap up really. Less can really become more if you start with a strong core, add intentional layers, and finish with your unique voice. That way your music will be unique and your personality can shine as well, which I think is really what makes us all unique as humans really. Getting theoretical can be cool, it can help us learn, it can help us develop our own unique taste, analysing what other people do, why certain melodies make us feel a certain way. That can be a useful practice. But when it comes to writing, I think consider what it is that makes your heart sing and try and express that through the instruments and the gear that you have at hand. Hopefully you can try these ideas out in your own music and look forward to seeing you next time. Hello. Oh, thank you. I'll come outside now. Thanks. I was interrupted by Uber Eats then, sorry.